What's up, guys? I'm Landon from Shoeware, and today we're putting the newest models from Paul George and LeBron James shoe lines with Nike head to head to see how they compare. But really quick, if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching this video, and go ahead and give it a like. We would greatly appreciate that. So really quickly, just kind of looking at the box and the price. The PG5s come in a gray box with Paul's player logo kind of blown up in the center. And then of course you're going to kind of have a camo design for the base. And that pattern does actually kind of show up on the shoes as well. I'll get to that in just a second. And then the LeBrons get a little bit more of a creative box, just the way that it opens, even though the overall design for these is kind of a brown and a gray look. But for pricing, we do have a pretty wide gap, with the PG5s really retailing for the low price of $110, and the LeBron 18s nearly double them for $200 for retail. So checking out the appearance and the design before I jump into the performance comparison, I'll start off with the colorways. So today we're looking at the Nike PG5 Daughters versus the LeBron 18 GOAT Vision, which is actually a collab that he designed or kind of like linked up with WNBA star Diana Taurasi. So I thought that was pretty sweet. It's just got some of her accomplishments and stuff on there. But starting off with the PG5s, Nike did take away the zipper that ran up the middle of the PG4s. So I thought that zipper concept was weird at first, but it did kind of grow on me. So I do miss that a little bit. And then I do like how the pink design kind of matches the box, the pattern from the box. So I thought that was a cool touch. And then of course you got those yellow overlays. Some of them are purple, so that's a pretty solid look. But switching it over to the LeBron, I am actually a fan of how these last few models have looked, and the LeBron 18 is no different. So you have a few bubbles kind of running up the tongue for these. And, the tongue is a little bit big in my opinion, but, the upper does have a cool design. I think they made these flow really well where you can kind of see the materials change midway through that upper. And then, of course, you are going to have the signature LeBron James logo with the crown in the middle on the back. It's kind of faintly showing up on the back of these shoes since, of course, he goes by King James. So, not a bad look at all for these. All right, so now looking at the performance and the materials comparison, we'll start off with the cushioning for each shoe first. So the PG5 uses a full-length air dot strobel that is super comfy. I mean, these pretty much feel like you're walking on a cloud, which makes sense because that is in fact what Nike puts in their bio about this PG5 model. So, definitely a bouncy feel. And then for the LeBron 18, these feature a full-length Zoom Air unit with some additional Max Air cushioning underneath the heel, kind of extending up the foot. So a lot of cushion went into these too. I mean, and you can definitely tell whenever you're playing in them, there's just not a lot of break-in time required. But moving on to the upper, that is where the difference in the retail price starts to show itself between these shoes. So the LeBron 18s definitely have some more premium materials in this area. They do feature a Knitposit 2.0 setup that helps keep the shoe breathable, but the PG5s, they just have some cheaper textiles being used on that upper, and you can just kind of tell whenever you feel the two shoes in hand that the PG5s just don't have the highest quality. But for the support, the LeBron 18s actually kind of are a disappointment in that area. I noticed a lot of heel slippage whenever I was making some fast cuts and movements. It would almost feel like my foot was just going to come out of the shoe. And then even on step backs, I could kind of feel that knit upper. It was just stretching a little bit more than I personally would have liked. And there is no outrigger on these shoes like the PG5s do have to kind of give you a little bit of extra support. But for the PG5s, they aren't necessarily going to take your breath away with the support, but it is definitely better. The upper on these is a little bit more secure, and it does work better for those side-to-side movements, all part of that lateral containment. But there are some white pieces also kind of extending up from the midsole that are going to add to the support factor as well. And then jumping to the bottom of these to look at traction, the LeBron 18s probably could have been a little bit better here too. I mean, you have two different designs going on for the bottom of the shoe. You kind of have that diamond pattern in the front half that does the bulk of the work. And, it has you covered for the most part. I did find myself sliding a few times, but, I'd say they are good, not great. But for the PG5s, these are great, not good. I mean, this specific traction pattern is pretty much exactly what was used on the Kobe 9, and they held up great. I mean, that is definitely going to be one of the highlights on this PG5 model is the traction. And then to finish off with sizing, both of these shoes have a true to size fit. The PG5s are a little bit more on the narrow side though compared to the LeBron 18. So for the final ratings, I actually am a bigger fan of the LeBron 18 model. I do think it's a pretty clean look. There's just more details and stuff going on compared to the pretty simple look of the PG5s. the LeBrons are a little bit bulky, but I'm willing to overlook it. And then checking out the cushioning, honestly, both of these shoes are great in that area. The LeBrons do have some more cushion built in, but one thing I didn't mention is that like a combination of like the bubbles on the tongue kind of paired with that tongue just being really big, it leads to a little bit of discomfort whenever you're playing in those. But Paul's shoes, they're just pretty comfy all the way around, and that's actually going to make me lean that way. And then for the materials, like I said, it's really not that close. With the higher retail price for the LeBron 18s, you can obviously afford to put a little more money into the details and the materials, and that is what happened for this model. You can just tell in hand that some like cheaper quality stuff was used for the PG5s, but for the support, like I just mentioned, the LeBrons did drop the ball in that area, while the PG5s, they definitely hold their own whenever it comes to being secure, having that containment. And then for traction, the PG5s definitely win that, since they pretty much copy pasted the Kobe 9s and just put it straight onto this year's Paul George 5. So the LeBron 18s, they do hold up pretty good on clean courts, but it doesn't translate super well whenever they get dirty. But, the outsole is definitely durable at least. So for my final decision, the underdog is actually going to walk away the winner with the PG5s taking this battle. I would have needed a little bit more of a consistent feel, all the way around for a shoe that's going to retail for $200 like the LeBron 18. I mean, support is just not something that you really want to be lacking in whenever it comes to playing basketball. And, for the PG5s, there just really isn't a clear-cut weakness on this shoe that I can come up with. And, of course, they are pretty much half the price. But just in case you do want a little bit more of an in-depth review on each of these shoes, we do have individual reviews live for both pairs where I go a little bit deeper into both of these models. So feel free to check that out. And if you're interested in purchasing one or both of these shoes, just go ahead and check out the links in the description below. But that pretty much wraps up our performance comparison. So feel free to leave a comment below if you like this video, or just let us know any other shoes that you may want us to check out. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoeware. Peace.